Hi everyone, my name is Jenny and welcome to my creative space. This vlog is going to be a spoiler-filled reading vlog of Assassin's Fate, which is the last book in the Realm of the Elderlings by Robin Hobb. I wanted to do a segment for those of you who have not read Realm of the Elderlings and maybe convince you to go ahead and pick it up. But other than that, the rest of the vlog will be spoiler-filled. If you haven't read, I will say when the spoilers are going to begin, so you don't need to worry about that. You can watch the next few minutes, I believe, and you'll be good to go. But other than that, if you decide to pick it up, I hope you come back and watch this last vlog and see my reactions for the last book. I hope you enjoy the video, and I'll see you on the other side. Bye! The Realm of the Elderlings begins with the introduction of a young Fitzchivalry Farseer, who's being dropped off at the gate of Buckkeep Castle by his maternal grandfather, who demands that King Shrew take care of his own bastard grandson. With this scandal spreading throughout the Six Duchies, Chivalry Farseer is asked to step down from his line in the throne. Due to Chivalry being beloved by the court, Fitz is seen as a political target, and to ensure Fitz's loyalty to the crown, the king enlists him to be his royal assassin. I originally thought that this story would be a fun and quick adventure of a young boy growing up within the castle, but instead I received this very reflective retelling of young Fitz's life from the older perspective of Fitz himself as he documents his story. Robin Hobb unfolds a story that allows the reader to see the loneliness of a young child who is only treated as a pawn, even with those who love him most. I myself started to question, what does loyalty mean to someone who has never had someone truly loyal to them, and what true bonds can be made between those around him who refuse to accept the whole of his being. There's something so addictive about Hobb's writing. It's truly something I can't really explain, but ever so often I come across an author who makes me enjoy reading all the small details and mundane aspects of a character's life, and Robin Hobb is that writer for me. Even with all the time we spend with Fitz through 16 books, I am still asking for more from her, and that shows to me that Robin Hobb is a writer that I truly connect with. I would like to note that this is an adult fantasy, so there will be elements of violence, abuse, and enslavement which are spoken of and also on page. So please check the content warning prior to reading this series. I also would like to add that there's certain characterization and word choices that I believe are a product of their time, especially towards the front half of the series. But I would encourage you to form your own opinion and experience the book on your own. I do think that if it isn't for you, by all means, please put the book down and put your personal mental health forward instead of just reading a book because it's popular. And with that, thank you for joining me on this journey. I will let you know that the next clip of me is going to be the beginning of the spoiler section. So whether you've read this series already or if you're planning to pick it up, I'd love to hear in the comment section. And with that, I hope you enjoy this video. Before I actually get into the real rundown of the beginning, I just wanted to point out the dedication of this book. You see that? To Fitz and the Fool, my best friends for over 20 years. Is she really best friends with Fitz and the Fool if she's torturing them like this? Yeah. So right from the jump, we see Bee stumble out of the skill pillar, and her plotline is basically her trying to escape Duelia, the servants, and that one Tilcidian guy that they're with. And to be honest, her chapters so far have made me incredibly uncomfortable because one, Duelia, she is such an evil, nasty person. She will do anything to get her way, and even if it's seeing the torture or the assault of the other servants that are with her, she doesn't care as long as she's not the one receiving that abuse and treatment, and as long as it's something that will bring her to her end goal, which is bringing B back to Clara's. She, at this point, knows that B is not the unexpected son. I think the prophecies are slightly skewed and different because of how Fitz and the Fool switch that around. And on the end of Fitz and the Fool's plotline, they're currently in the Elderling city after Fitz healed a bunch of the citizens there. He's trying to heal up, and General Rapskull is still like on to them, thinking like, oh, you are stealing resources of the dragons that are not rightfully yours, and he just has it out for Fitz until Hebe has this conversation with the crow Motley, and Hebe, I guess, catches wind that Fitz and the Fool are trying to go to Clara's to exact revenge for what they believe is the death of their daughter B. And I think Hebe tells Motley like, oh, I think his cause is just because the servants of Clara's are an enemy of the dragon. And I think only Hebe is the dragon that kind of knows about the history between the servants and dragons, but she doesn't know completely because obviously she's been in her serpent body for so long that a lot of her memories aren't fully there. But I had this theory that maybe the whites of Clara's ended up using the dragons for some reason, akin to how the others from Other Island had used that serpent, and within using that serpent that they captured on the Others Island, they were able to give prophecies to people who visited. And I'm thinking maybe somehow the white servants were using dragons by killing them in order to allow them to have some sort of power leech from them. I'm not sure. I don't think it's the best theory, but I think somehow the dragons having their kind of animosity towards the white servants is paralleled or connected to how the serpent and the others from other islands have that animosity towards each other. But let's get to the exciting part where I'm currently at. I just finished chapter 10. And guys, Fitz is meeting Paragon. I've been waiting for this moment ever since the ending of Ship of Destiny, and Amber's talking to Paragon like, oh, I'm going back to where my destiny's leading me to, and Paragon's like, oh, you're going back to the guy that you modeled me after, right? And then Amber's like, yeah, our destinies are intertwined. I mean, it wasn't that goofy of a conversation, but I have just been anticipating when Fitz will finally see his, it's not his namesake, I guess his face sake. Is that a thing? I don't know. But they have just gotten off the Tarman because they had to travel from the Elderling City back to Trahog in order to get onto Paragon so that they can continue their journey towards Clara's. They get off Tarman, and then they see Paragon, and Paragon's not looking at them. He's like kind of snoozing. They're all like, oh my gosh, it's a live ship. This is the first time we're seeing a live ship with a figurehead. And the figurehead turns around. Fitz is just shocked. And it's like his hair on his scalp and his arms prickled as he slowly lifted his head. And you're probably like, everybody else is like, oh my gosh, it's moving. But Fitz is like, wait, why does he have my face? And Amber's like, Fitz, I can explain everything. Can you? Can you explain? Oh my gosh. So I'm really excited to get into chapter 11 and see what Amber has to say to explain herself. because we know. But will Fitz understand? Will he be able to handle the truth? Hi friends, it's been a while since I last updated, and that's because I unfortunately got sick. I was kind of pushing back and putting off filming an update because I sound so nasally and congested, but then because I'm sick, I had a lot of downtime to read, and I'm now up to 60% of Assassin's Fate, and I thought we might as well get the update now before all hell breaks loose. I think I last left you when I was reading about Fitz about to meet Paragon and have a conversation with him, and I was giggling, laughing. Yeah, since then, it's not giggling and laughing. It's just been a lot of anticipatory anxiety, knowing that Robin Hobb is going to do her absolute worst. Currently, from where we left off, Fitz finds out through the skill with Nettle that Shade has passed away, and he is dealing with the grief of knowing like one of the last few people from his childhood is gone, and he's going into this very unknown and dangerous situation, not knowing if his daughter is okay, if they'll be able to rescue her. And also Fitz and Fool finally have like a talk where the Fool kind of fully confesses, like, yes, I've had dreams of you dying ever since we've left Trahog. It's not going to end well for Fitz, because every dream that he has had since then has been the death of Fitz, and it's always him drowning with water and blood, and he sees no positive end to it. And the thing is, the Fool is very distraught about it, and he can't figure out any other way that Fitz will come out of this alive. And because of that knowledge, he is trying to prioritize saving Bee and making sure that he makes it out of there alive in order to raise Bee and help Bee have a full life. And honestly, I think at the 60% mark that I'm at, I ended on chapter 26. They drank this tea together for the final time before they go on to move into the city and act out this very flimsy plan that they have. I think this is our last moment of calm and peace before Robin Hobb completely destroys me. Yeah, I think shit is about to hit the fan. And on the end of B, she is on this boat because they're trying to go to a different port city in order to connect to another ship to go to Clara's. And there's a sort of physical altercation between her and Dwalia, where she ends up biting off a chunk of Dwalia's face, which was slightly satisfying but at the same time very gross because of the way it's described, and like the physical, because I'm sick as well, that description was so like it made me physically feel the kind of uncomfortable emotions that Bee was feeling. She was very satisfied with being able to hurt her abuser, but at the same time she was like, I can't believe I ripped off this woman's face. So she kind of gets away and is hiding on this ship, and she ends up meeting a slave trader, and Bee thinks to herself the only way that she can be safe is if she sells herself to this woman. And she proves to this woman that she's well educated, she can read, and so she can fetch a better price and be a higher grade of a enslaved person. And so this trader woman agrees to take Bee on. And I think the saddest part is when the trader brings Bee into her cabin, she kind of locks Bee in there and she's like, you know, I'll be back later. And Bee kind of cries with relief that even though she knows she's being enslaved, it is a much better position in life than she could have had with Dwalia. And it's just so disheartening to see this young girl have to feel like that is her only option in life, and like just to see one form of human cruelty be compared to the way her treatment with Dwalia is, and how, like, enslavement with this woman is so much better than being with Dwalia and going to Clara's with the other servants. Really just tells you what kind of predicament she is in. Unfortunately, when they land, Dwalia and Vindalia and that Chalcidian man find Bee and where her and that traitor are staying, they end up murdering the traitor. And Bee is just so distraught because she's thinking, my one way out is gone, and they murdered her. And Bee, unfortunately, had to witness the very violent, grotesque murder of this woman. Bee thought, like, this is the lesser of the evil, and the one hope that she had is gone. And it's very sad to see her go through this kind of internal struggle of wondering, like, what better of my life can I have if I am stuck with Dwalia and Vindalia? They end up getting on a ship to Clara's. Vindalia has this glamour over the crew that Dwalia is this very beautiful, powerful woman, and she gets her way on the ship to Clara's. And when they finally land in Clara's, Bee kind of sees a completely different version of what she was expecting. Obviously, she's expecting this very nightmarish and grotesque land because of the treatment she received from people from there, and instead she sees a very rich and bustling town that is brightly colored. There are no beggars or things like that that she sees in bigger cities that she had been in, and so she's just wondering, like, what in the world is going on in this place? It is very off and very scary for her to be in a place that is so picturesque while she's basically dragged in chains alongside Dwalia. And oh my god, like, she ends up being able to meet the Four with Dwalia, and Dwalia ends up, like, trying to prove to the Four, like, I do have the unexpected son. And because of her, like, lies and all this resources that she has wasted the past 3 years, she ends up being whipped. I think she gets 40 lashings, and the whole time Bee is like, she has this level of empathy that surely I don't have for Dwalia, because Dwalia has put not only Bee but so many of the other white servants alongside her in such terrible and abusive situations. But I can totally understand why Bee is empathetic towards Dwalia, and that, like, I think she really understands that Dwalia, unfortunately, is the lesser evil of the Four in Clara's. And that is just a really terrifying thing, because currently Bee is under a form of, like, house arrest with the Four. They're watching over her, and they've come to a part where they believe that Bee is the gateway to bringing the Destroyer to Clara's, and they're kind of sounding the alarm, like, we need to have our eyes open because Bee has come to Clara's. That means the Destroyer will be here soon enough. So at the 60% mark, I feel like the worst has not come yet, and we're about to see what the worst is. Obviously, the Fool has told Fitz by this point, and also Paragon tells Fitz about the dreams that the Fool has been having regarding Fitz's death. I know Robin Hobb is preparing us for that, but when that event truly comes, I don't think I'll be ready for it. Because my prediction as of right now is that Fitz might not even be able to see Bee before he dies. Maybe when they finally get to see each other for the last and final moment, Bee will unfortunately see the death of another one of her parents. And this poor child, I just feel so bad for her. And this whole time, you are, like, clinging onto this hope, like, they'll finally see each other. Unfortunately, for the last time, because of the Fool's dream. I can't believe I was giggling and laughing in my last check-in, and now I'm panicking. Yeah, that's where we're at. So, you know, when I end up reading more, I'll let you know
how it goes. I think it just gets worse from here, honestly. So maybe the next check-in I'll be crying because I'm not laughing anymore. So I just finished chapter 35, and a lot of things have happened since we've gotten to Clara's and into the castle. Basically, I'm not gonna give you every single detail, but basically at this point, B is trying to make her escape. She sets the castle on fire, and she doesn't know that her dad and the rest of the crew is like in the basement level, and as she's like running around setting these things on fire, they eventually meet, and there's a reunion between B and Fitz, and it's just so sweet because I did not think that Robin was going to give us a reunion between the two of them. And then also, when he reconnects with B, he also reconnects with Night Eyes. And there's this moment where he's like, he recognizes Night Eyes' presence in his mind, and he describes it as feeling more welcome than cool air or fresh water, and that his like spirits lift the moment that he feels Night Eyes, and he knows that things will be fine. And Night Eyes calls B the cub. Oh my gosh, it's so cute. And then when we get to the end of that chapter, Vindalia glamours Fitz, and they end up having an altercation that leads into chapter 35, and there's a whole fight, and Fitz ends up being stabbed in the leg by one of the people. Basically, they're trying to run away at this point, but there's no escape route because, you know, the whole castle is on fire, and they're stuck in the basement levels. And Vindalia glamoured all of the troops there. Even if they ran up there, B would basically be targeted by the troops because of that glamour. They are trying to escape from the tunnel that the Fool had spoken about being taken out of. And I think at this point, Fitz knows the prophetic dreams that the Fool has been having, basically sacrifices himself, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna be a distraction, and he's like setting everybody up to take B back to Paragon. And he looks at B and he's like, trust these people. He doesn't flat out say that he loves her, but they have this brief moment of contact, and B has this connection with her father, touching him skin to skin, and she sees past his walls. She sees all his regrets as her father, like he feels so disappointed in himself for not protecting her. And then at the end of that little moment, she realizes like he's not only had a wall for his skill ability, but a wall towards everybody else that prevented him from seeing that people truly loved him. I am too stunned to speak. Because why would Robin let this poor child see this in her father? It's so heartbreaking. And then Wolf Father, Night Eyes, ends up telling Fitz, like, you should be very proud of her because of how far she's come. And he says, be proud of our cub. The thing is, I have 200 pages left of this book. So what the hell is she gonna do to me? Fitz just gave the rest of his strength to skill heal the fool's body, and he just went with Night Eyes. That's it. That's how he dies. Yeah, so I'm pausing for the night because what the hell? What the hell, Robin? I think I have some good news. I'm on chapter 40, and Fitz is alive because Night Eyes is the brain cells, and he decided to save some life force and strength for them. Thank God for that wolf, honestly. For some reason, he has all of this silver around him, and the water's really warm. I don't know if it's like the silver from his pack that like spilled out, or for some reason under the castle there's a bunch of silver. I'm not entirely sure because Fitz couldn't really see under there because he used most of his strength to heal the fool. But, you know, I'm not gonna ask any questions if Fitz Chivalry is alive. And the only issue here now is that everybody is leaving, and I think Vivacia is here to take them back home, and Fitz is kind of freaking out, like, how the hell am I gonna get back? Everybody's leaving without me, and they don't even know that I'm alive. And Motley comes, and I'm pretty sure she's probably gonna tell Hebe, like, hey, Fitz isn't dead. Okay, if this is the case, Robin is really gonna pull something really mean and nasty on me. I know she will. Because one thing that she'll do is give me hope just so she can dash it and stomp all over me. I'll update. This is me with 13% left. Who I'm gonna be after the end of this book, you will surely find out soon. I have 2 to 3 more hours of reading left. I bet you I won't be smiling, that's for sure. In all seriousness, just in regards to my predictions, well, I think that Fitz is gonna die. I do think so. I don't know. I really don't know what Robin is going to do that'll be extremely devastating, because I just can't imagine putting these characters through something so intense again. You know, the ending of Tawny Man was really sad because the fool dying, but then them going through this really emotional process of reviving the fool and them eventually separating for the greater good of the world. That was really heart-wrenching, and I don't have that much of a creative brain to be messing with these characters in an emotional, devastating way. Do I even congratulate Robin Hobb for being creative in the sense of hurting me? I don't even know. I really don't know. I finished the book. What do I even say? Like, that ending scene at the quarry where, like, everybody who has impacted Fitz's life, who's still alive, being there with him, and then him, like, giving everyone his final speech, and that scene with the fool where he feels very dejected and, like, he feels like the catalyst to Fitz's misery. And then B finally telling the fool, like, I lied and he doesn't feel that way about you. And when they join together, I think this is so funny because if you have no idea about this story, this sounds like absolute nonsense. Oh my god. I can't believe that this series is over for me now. I don't even have any, like, true, like, in-depth, intelligent thoughts right now. I'm just so sad that I'm not with Fitz and the Fool and Night Eyes. And just wondering about where B's life will be now. Yeah, it's just so sad. But so, like, sweet in the end, I think. Like, it's very bittersweet of an ending. Just to see Fitz, Fool, and Night Eyes being together finally in one form. And that ending scene where they're going back to the mountain and Per feels like someone's following them. And it's probably them in the wolf dragon. Like, one of my favorite things in Tawny Man was the gift that the Fool gave to Fitz. And it's that little, like, memory cube that he had carved to look like the three of them together. And now that they're carved in a wolf dragon, I don't think I have ever loved characters the way that I've loved them. Maybe that is her crime, that she makes you love these characters so much, and in the end, she just rips them away from you. I don't even know what to say. I don't know what to say.
I finished the book. It's actually been a few weeks since I finished this book. I think you can tell at the end there that I was really struggling. I was very sick. I felt really bad that I was filming my reactions sounding super congested and nasally, but I also wanted to have pretty authentic reactions to the book. But because I was sick, unfortunately, I feel like there was no critical thought in any of my updates. It was just me freaking out and being like, oh my god, Fitz and the Fool, and poor Bee. But like, the real thick and meat of this book, I was just like, no thoughts. For my rating, first off, it's a 5-star. Nobody's surprised that this is a 5-star. Final thoughts and conclusions with The Realm of the Elderlings. Although I say that it definitely is one of my favorite series of all time, very life-changing for me, there are criticisms that I have and that I agree with Robin Hobb's work, but at the end of the day, this is a series that is for me. Like, the deep dive in the complexities of the human experience and how she doesn't always write people to be either wholly good or wholly bad, I think is such an interesting experience as a reader, because she never, besides Duelia, she never fully says like, this person is so completely heinous and you should hate them. There's elements of humanization she gives to her villains that I think is so interesting. Although she humanizes them, she doesn't say like, because they went through this terrible trauma, their evil doings are completely okay. Like, she never excuses someone's actions, even with our heroes. Like, with Fitz and the Fool, they both do some really stupid things throughout the entirety of this book. And Fitz, for example, he has so many just things on his mind that I find is so unimportant to his quest of saving his daughter. And she doesn't necessarily forgive him for that. Like, she allows us to see his point of view, but there's never a thing in the text that's like, but that's okay because Fitz had trauma and like yada yada yada. Like, the Fool's expression of femininity is an attack on him, but that's because his family did this, this, and that. Like, there is no excuse to why Fitz is the way he is. There's an explanation, but she never sits you down and says like, but we should love Fitz because he's a good guy. Like, there's and I really love that she allows you as a reader to create your own opinion on her characters, and she makes her characters so complex, and I just truly enjoy that in a reading experience. For me, Realm of the Elderlings is so completely special because I started at the beginning of this year, yes, and I finished it within a year. So I started in January of 2023 and I finished the last book January 2024. And such an amazing experience, one, with like the character work and us getting to reflect with Fitz about his struggles with like loneliness and identity and belonging, and what it's like to have this deep relationship with other people but still feel like maybe I am not worthy of the love that other people give me, and like I am somebody who's hard to love. Those discussions in the book, especially from a male point of view, was so incredibly interesting and thought-provoking for me. Strangely enough, I was picking up so much more female-focused and led books, and there's just this expectation of a deep dive in the emotional aspects of the fantasy story from their point of view, whereas not every single male lead in a YA fantasy, but a lot of the times the male characters are these dark and brooding and mysterious types. We don't really get into the thick of their internal mind and their traumas and emotional experiences, whereas with Robin Hobb's work, there is definitely a deep dive in Fitz's internal psyche, and he does not like calm it down when he tells you, I am so sad and depressed and life sucks. Like, he says it in quite a mundane way that you're like, wait, hold on, let me reread that sentence again. My experience with not only Assassin's Fate, but the entirety of, I think, from Ship of Magic on, is so biased leaning to it being a favorite series of all time was because I had joined a Patreon and I got a buddy read most of these books with other people in this Patreon, and getting to have that shared community was so special for me. And so many people within that Hobb sub Discord are such good friends of mine now, just within the reading community, that is just so special. Also get to see other people's experiences with this novel and this series, and just to see how special it has become for all of us. That's such a great experience. Like, that is something that cannot be duplicated. And just to know that I've had so many small friendships being like planted from that beginning, and to see how it has blossomed throughout all these books, it could be considered trauma bonding at this point. But it was just so fun getting to see everybody's reactions, and all of the people in this Discord are so special to me and just to my reading experience. And I don't really have that many people in my real life who read fantasy, or just knowing that I have this community of people who share my joy in reading, it's just so fun. And I'm not saying that this experience wasn't sad and heart-wrenching, but because I got to build a community around it, I think that definitely boosted my experience with this novel so much more than if I had just read it by myself. On the end of B, I do like that she kept her storyline open-ended and that she allowed her to go with Ketcherkin, because honestly, Ketcherkin is the person that I trust the most with being capable of taking care of a child out of just the original cast. I know that Robin announced that she had written a series based off of B. Farseer. I'm really interested to see where we follow her, like at what age that the series is going to start. Also, it'll just be interesting because B is a white prophet, so we will get to see these prophecies from her, potentially from her point of view, versus with the Fool, we were getting his prophecies from the POV of Fitz. And Fitz is a big dummy. Like, some of those prophecies were very straightforward, and he was still like, wow, like, not the Fool speaking in riddles. And I think it'll just be so fun getting to follow her point of view. Will it be fun seeing this poor child go through more trauma? No, because all of the chapters of her trauma in this book, I was on the edge of my seat. I was ready to jump in the book and hurt people. Like, I've never felt so incredibly strongly about just villainous characters the way I do with Robin Hobb's. Dwalia and Kenneth are like up there. I think Dwalia is definitely number one at this point, because that woman, absolutely heinous. I don't know if I could possibly sit down and write somebody like that, because I would just get angry personally. Wow. Shout out to Robin for her character work. I don't think I've seen like a true villain of hers that was like, oh, this is very silly. The fact that Robin in her mind made up Clara's and Chalced. What was the necessity of having Chalced in general? Chalced did not a single positive thing for the people. In the narrative, Chalced gave us Kyle, don't like him. Chalced gave us slavery. Who is okay with that? Besides Chalced. Chalced gave us Chalcidians. This is ridiculous. But you know what I mean? Like, if you've read this book, not just this book, the series, you just know how terrible Chalced was. In the first trilogy, we're fighting the Red Ship Raiders. We should have fought in Chalced. I feel like the six duchies and the Red Ship Raiders should have banded together, and of greed, Chalced was the common enemy. Somebody write a book about that. Anyway, I don't know if I have any other closing thoughts. At this point, I'm just thinking about the reflection of this book versus all the other books, and I am just so excited to have a deeper dive in the books again and getting to spot out all the little crumbs that Robin left for us and how she herself took those small elements and brought them to a wider perspective and point of view. Definitely an author who is very pivotal in my reading journey. I don't know if I'm ever going to find an author that impacted me the way Robin Hobb has. That's not to say that I won't find brilliant authors, but there is just something magical and special about Robin Hobb's character work. Like, the fact that I love this man-child Fitz the way that I do. If this was any other character, I would be like, grow the hell up. But with Robin Hobb, Fitz is just a baby. I think the ending was very bittersweet, but it was an ending that was perfect to the story of Fitz and the Fool. And it's something that I feel so positively about, and I'm so glad that I made this video collecting my experience and my thoughts and opinions about this book. This is definitely is not a kind of critical review. This is my first video I'm ever making talking about a book. And so it's all over the place, I know, but it's gonna be fun when I reread this series and look back on this video and just seeing my collective reaction. I think it's a very positive experience. I'm hoping to make more videos just casually reading books. I don't think I'm a book reviewer. I'm just a book reader. Chronicling my experience with books will be fun, and I'm planning to do more videos. Maybe down the line when I do my reread, I could do deep dive videos. Let me know if you would be interested in that. I'll let myself know if I'm interested in that. I think it would be really fun since I do have the perspective of reading all of the books now. Maybe I will have more critical thought when deep diving into the books, whereas I think it's such a different experience when you're reading it for the first time and you're all over the place with the plot, with the characters, and what is important. Yeah. So maybe I just convinced myself that it would be a fun project to do a deep dive within each of these books. But do let me know what you would be interested in seeing. If you're interested in seeing a deep dive the books or just like general videos about Realm of the Elderling content, I'd also like to know. Other than that, this is me signing off with Realm of the Elderlings. Goodbye now. A piece of bonus content. Me reading the Realm of the Elderlings. So funny. So accurate though. Goofy and me were the same.